Kennedy, tell us a little bit about your experience, your encounter the other day with very normal people online who were respecting you and your life decisions.
Yeah, I was the Discourse for a brief moment. It was very surreal.
Oh, cool. This is on Twitter, right?
Yeah, this is on Twitter. It's on Twitter.
Can I get some reference material?
First of all, follow Kennedy at Kennedy T. Cooper.
Oh, thank you. And of course, thank you so much for having me on. Yeah, so someone that I've collaborated with, and I don't want to go out of my way to like name or shit on them at this point because like he's making some attempt at restitution, and I don't want to like be bad to that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Even if like currently, I still feel like you got to do a ton of work before I'm gonna take you seriously or trust you necessarily. But like, I still don't want to shit on what's being done. I want to talk about it slightly in the general for that reason, and because this is really more about like a general problem, because it's not like this guy is special. Or like what he did was unusual, or like the other responses that came out after are unusual. But this is someone I've collaborated with for many times, more than you. I've like, to be honest, like, I mean, we hang out, Zach, but like, how many times have we actually gotten in a booth and made content like this, right?
I mean, shit, I'm trying to run through the whole crew. It just, now that we're doing more bonus episodes, it actually works out easier because I don't have to like, oh, I'm scheduled out for 3 years ahead with all my regular episodes. Do you guys want to come on in 2023?
Yeah, I know that was like part of us like switching to the format of having more streams too. It was like now we can just hang out with our friends easier because we can always invite our homies to a stream. And that was like for us. Anyway, we're getting off track. But
this is why we can't record together, Kennedy. I swear to God.
Somebody that I've collaborated with, like been in the booth with many times, somebody that I've been in meetings with, worked on projects with, and have definitely, I don't always make a big deal out of being non-binary.
Mm-hmm.
I don't always make a big deal out of it. I don't always correct people when they misgender me, but sometimes I do because sometimes I just need that respect.
For sure.
But but I don't always talk about it a lot. I actually, part of the reason why I asked if we could talk about this in this episode is because this experience especially made me feel like I need to talk about this more because just the complete lack of understanding and just the complete diseducation that I have experienced around these topics. I'm just like, I have to be a better advocate for myself at this point. But I'm not always like the absolute best advocate for myself. And sometimes I just don't want to deal with it. And so I don't always make a big deal out of it, but he had known me for long enough that it's like, okay, we've been in meetings where I've introduced myself and we're going around doing pronouns and I say, I prefer they, them, thank you, and like put that out there. Also, you followed me on Twitter for 1.5 years. Anybody who follows me on Twitter knows that there's gender posting happening.
It's query time. Queer theory time.
It's not something I do necessarily every day, but I do gender post a lot.
I mean, it's Twitter.
Post
Twitter
queer theory a lot. Yeah. So I don't know. I just felt like this is someone who should have known to have like a basic level of respect towards my identity at this point, especially like, and not that it's justified if like somebody doesn't know me and they won't show me respect, but still it's worse if somebody knows you.
Somebody who's looked at your Twitter feed for 1.5 years.
Yeah. So this guy misgendered me. I asked him not to. He did it again. I said, hey, this is the second time you've misgendered me in this conversation. We were having a very mildly heated Twitter, not even really, just like slightly spicy Twitter debate about economics.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, hey, you've misgendered me twice in this conversation. I'd appreciate if you didn't do it again. He came back with a kind of sarcastic, especially, I don't know if it was 100% meant as sarcastic, but it really read badly reply. And at that point, this is where it really becomes interesting, I think. Starts just going off, subtweeting about it and how his feelings matter. Because up until now, it's just been a relatively normal misgendering experience. But then it starts to get really weird when it's like, okay, your straight guy confusion, like your like societal, like you're not sure about this or that feelings, those are more important than just respecting me. Like, what is this?
Psychic Dolphin Garage.
Thanks everybody for listening to us today. We have Kennedy, Cooper, they, them from Not Safe Media.
Thank you so much.
We have Raul Garcia, of course, our friend of the pod.
What's up?
He, him, from Authentic Discourse podcast. And soon to be scalped into the Psychic Dolphin Garage, of course.
Yeah, I'm here for it. I'm like
Yeah.
I'm not a free agent, but like working on some backroom shit.
And we're talking
Love
about gender identity, gender discourse. Our favorite thing to do is just have discourse. And this recent experience, I guess there's a couple different ways that I would like to talk about it. First of all, like as someone who interacts with other people and tries to be very aware of what I'm doing in my interactions and also, refusing to message other podcasts before I've, liked at least 16 of their tweets, after they happen on the timeline.
Yeah.
Listen to their content, to make sure I know what I'm getting myself into. This isn't just me, right?
No, for sure. No.
This is talking about, our comrades, people that we collaborate with, people that we are, not only do we want what's best for, each other, but we also want to listen and learn from them a lot because what else, how is that not like what our goal is? If we're growing together, then we should be, then we really should be, listening to each other all the time and trying to grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and you find yourself in this situation where this is not a random on Twitter trying to trigger libtards.
Yeah. No, it's like it's somebody that you know for a while. Yeah.
And who is ostensibly like progressive, would not describe himself as a leftist, to be clear, but like, and this is like one of those things where it's like I've tried to build these bridges with people politically, and I'm starting to really wonder what the value in that is.
R.I.P. Report to the gulag. Comrade Kennedy.
It just really feels like a lot of people that like are the type of liberal that accuse leftists of being like really toxic and accusatory, just like have that behavior towards leftists.
No,
and
for
like
sure.
even if you try to build a bridge or like find some common ground with them, they're just judging you like you're a crazy person from day one.
They're faux-gressives. That's what they are. And what's funny is like they're like a lot of those same people, they'll throw around like that word to try to demean you as a leftist, when like in reality they're just I don't know. I feel like it's and I'm being super general right now, but I feel like it's a thing where like there's like a very specific type of liberal who like wants to be like really like the most progressive person, and so when they see like the left and like our like not only do we want like fucking equality, we want like radical egalitarianism. We want things to be more just than just like than woke capitalism, than than ethical capitalism. I feel like it's kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say like intimidating, and I feel like I'm being super like really hyper like fucking narcissistic right now. But I just feel like I don't know.
We are podcasting,
I just feel like liberals like that. It's like a really specific type of liberal, and it I know what you mean about like just like wanting to build bridges, but at the same time like it's really tough sometimes.
Yeah.
Because they don't want a bridge to be built.
Yeah.
Kennedy, what's your experience?
Exactly.
What's your experience with gender? How would you encapsulate your experience, your coming of gender, so to speak?
That's a big question. Okay.
Give me the funny version. We don't have to dig into your insecurities.
No. But from a young age, I didn't really relate to the way that people would talk about gender, to the way that people would gender me. I was frequently doing things that I was sort of admonished for because they weren't what I was supposed to do as a quote unquote boy, right? And it didn't feel like a transgressive thing. It just felt like I just wanted to do certain things and behave in certain ways, and I was frequently being told, no, you're not supposed to do that. And obviously, as I got older, it got easier to just sort of like break through some of that. So like, you know, when no one cared what toys I bought and I had control over it, I bought some girls' toys from time to time. And, you know, as I got even older, like I started painting my nails and things like that. And my parents were not like particularly understanding, but they also weren't like particularly like regressive people. So they weren't like trying to like stop me from doing anything in particular. But they were sometimes kind of like, well, you know, just be normal. Like,
they're just a little bit reactionary.
Yeah, just a tiny bit.
Those are some awful queer toys you got there. Really skating the line today. Feeling a bit spicy, aren't we, Dad?
Like it definitely wasn't like an all the time thing, but there were definitely times where it'd be like, "Are you sure you want the Polly Pocket?" And I'd be like, "Yeah." Or I can remember when I wanted to get my ears pierced as a teenager. That was a huge deal.
Yeah, because you know, for bros, for guys, dudes, it's like rebellion. You're gonna get your ear pierced, wear your single earring, listen to Ozzy Osbourne.
Right. It was like a whole and I'm like I literally told my parents, I was like, if I was a girl, if you had a daughter and I was 14 and I was saying, "Hey, can I get my ears pierced?" you'd say yes.
Yeah.
And they still like, as much as like they aren't like the most reactionary, this is definitely like one of those micro reactionary, like they just couldn't escape from the culture kind of moments. They were just like, no. And like I didn't get my ears pierced till I was 19. No,
I didn't get mine pierced till I was like, I think I was 25 when I got my ears pierced.
Damn, yeah.
Yeah,
Came
for a
home
long time, yeah.
Still got banned. I got banned from the house because I went to college and I got them pierced in the dorm room, and they look really good. Thanks, Caroline, for piercing those with the little like handheld one that you snap together.
Yeah, like a gun.
Not even a gun.
Oh damn!
It's just a plastic cartridge.
Oh damn!
Oh
that you, like, squeeze it.
Yes.
It goes pop and pops it in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
They look great. We marked the centers of them.
Yeah.
They're great piercings. They haven't gone away. You know, I stick shit in them sometimes. My mom saw them a week after I got them. She's like, "You aren't allowed home," and I just didn't talk to her for a month. So
fuck. See, my parents never did anything like that.
Yeah, that's worse even than my parents. But when I came home with my ears and nose pierced, my mom did cry, which was like, I was like, "Are you serious? You're gonna?"
That's hilarious.
She made it all about her too. Which is
goodness.
like typical straight people shit, to be honest.
Yeah.
Whenever your queerness is like out there and obvious and like in any way like apparent and you're like happy about it, like straight people suddenly got to make it about them. And like how they're feeling about it. So going into college, I was starting to hang out with queer folks more and like be in the LGBTQ community and like go to Pride and like help set up Pride a few years and stuff.
Nice.
So I was getting like a little more educated and like trying to figure it out because I had like at times like asked people about like gender and sexuality like in the best terms that I could or the best ways that I could. Because obviously, like, I didn't know what the fuck I was even trying to, like, really ask anyone. Hardly. Like, because this is just, you know, it's changed so much now, too. It's wild hanging out with Zoomers who just, like, got gender discourse from, like, birth.
Yeah, at least it feels like it, right?
When we went on the Krill stream, and they were, like, talking about, like, these different Soviet states, and I'm messaging Eddie, I'm like, what are they talking about? I don't know what this is. They're like in high school, like having in-depth discussions about geopolitical stuff and the USSR. I'm like, yeah, no, communism good.
Yeah,
that's what I got.
Right? Yeah.
And
I'm a dumbass. I'm not educated in anything. I do my best. But
yeah, when we were young and you Googled gender on Google, like you're lucky if you got the Merriam-Webster.
You got the
entry
Steven
for gender.
Crowder answer.
Yeah, you would literally get like a genitalia based answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just something very like base and crass and completely not even biologically holistic or accurate.
Yeah.
So yeah. So like by the time I reached college, though, it was like I was starting to get a little bit of education now. Like, of course, non-binary theory was not like very popular in like LGBT circles even at that time. So I wasn't still getting like the specific resources that I needed a lot, but I was getting like at least opportunities to learn things and like experiment and try things. And so like I spent a lot of time just like hanging out with queer folks and like I thought for a while, well, like, so basically everyone was kind of like, well, if you're having gender doubts, maybe you're trans and you want to be a woman. And so for a while I was kind of experimenting with that and, you know, presenting as a woman a lot and dressing that way and doing things amongst friends. But even then, this was where I started to feel like really weird and like kind of crazy. So I've had a certain amount of gender dysphoria my whole life. When I would do like the full blown present as a woman, I still had dysphoria. So I'm like, what the fuck? So it wasn't really until like I was in my like kind of getting to my like mid-20s that I really started to be presented with a lot of like specific non-binary theory. And it took me a while to get totally comfortable with it, but it started to feel like, oh, there's something here that makes sense just innately and just sort of seems to answer the question that I've been asking my whole life about this. Is like the best way I can describe it. It just felt like a puzzle piece slotting into place. Like finally, someone is saying something that makes sense to me.
Yeah. That's great. That's great.
I will tell you wanted the funny version, so I will tell this story as well.
Okay.
While I was like in that process of getting educated and still figuring things out, I was dating this woman whose name was Lindsay, and Lindsay knew we were in this larger religious organization together. We were Quakers, and that's something that was a whole another part. Some other time.
I was gonna say that's already like that sounds like a whole other podcast. That I can't imagine.
I was an aspiring religious leader, and we can talk about that in another podcast.
Hell yeah.
But we were involved in the same religious organization, and that so the Quakers have a lot of like a fair amount of LGBTQ support for like a semi-mainstream religion.
Really?
Like, yeah, it's decent. It's decent.
I would never in a million years have guessed that.
People have a weird conception about the Quakers. They think it's like really different than it is. And
I thought it was like really,
It's the same thing that we think about like Luddites, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Like Luddites, they hate technology. It's like no, they really wanted to unionize very badly.
Actually, Quakers are super lib, is what it is. It's like the libest. It's like the absolute like pinnacle progressive lib religion. So we were involved in the same religious organization.
Really? I thought it was. I would think that a lot of those people are reactionary. Or like regressive, like hyper conservative.
There are reactionary Quakers, but even the most reactionary Quakers tend to be like similar to like reactionary Methodists or something like that, where you're like you're not like a Baptist.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not a Baptist.
So we're in the same religious
Discourse.
organization, and somebody who was like a leader within like the LGBTQ specific part of like the org comes to Lindsay and says, if you ever need any support regarding your relationship with Kennedy, the LGBTQ resource community is here for you, basically. She's like, what are you talking about? We're in a, Kennedy has dated men, but we're in basically in a straight relationship, right? And this person's just like, there's things about Kennedy that we're all going to find out, basically. And this is like, I was not even close to out at that point, but it was just like everyone, it was like, the writing was on the wall, and I was having experiences like that all the time at that point in my life. It was like I was being so fucking queer everywhere that everyone's just looking at me like, you're not straight. I got fired for a job for being queer before I came out. Like,
congrats, you checked that one off before you even thought you needed to. Jeez.
like I'm still trying to figure it out, and I got fired from a job, like because I'm acting too queer with like this other guy who is obviously queer.
all the gays in the back house just going, "Oh, honey."
Yeah.
Goodness. So that's you've had a lot more. So your parents were kind of libs. You weren't like super repressed. You wouldn't say like you weren't like completely just unconscious of what was happening in your own brain.
No, but there was definitely, like I kind of said, there were times where I was like trying to like ask questions about this. And first of all, like part of the problem was I didn't know what to ask. And so I can remember when I was like 9-ish, just being like asking my mom, "Am I gay?" My mom's like, "What?" Because like that was the only queer term I knew.
Yeah.
That was the only queer identity I even understood that existed at that point, you know?
Yeah.
So like like to an extent, my parents tried to expose me to like a little bit of queer theory, but it definitely felt like it was more from the like kind of lib perspective of like, we're going to learn just about enough about this to tolerate it.
Yeah.
But like realistically, like there was like a soft pressure that like you should be straight and make babies.
Yeah.
And...
Or at least like not to be too flamboyant about it.
In your face.
Yeah, in your face about it.
I mean, I never brought a boyfriend home because first of all, there were only a couple of guys that I ever was really involved with and whatever. But I have the feeling if I had tried to bring a boyfriend home, it would have been dramatic.
Yeah.
I will say that. And not even necessarily outward dramatic, but probably more passive aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Traumatic, you mean, for them.
Yeah. Dramatic for everyone involved, but particularly for me and whoever I was trying to date.
Rip.
But yeah, I imagine it probably would have been more passive aggressive, like liberal, like, "Oh, we don't really disapprove."
Yeah, like some get out shit.
Kinda.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not exactly the same, but
no,
yeah,
I mean, but like
the
same type of
similarity of like
the same type of like
yeah.
like the same the same mindset.
It was just kind of like a polite homophobia.
Yeah.
A lot of the time is what it felt like, I guess.
No, I get it.
And it was even worse outside the home, to be clear. Like my parents were okay, but the minute I walked outside the door, it just gets worse, you know?
Yeah.
Like there were very few places that I could go where it was better.
Well, yeah. Because gay bars are just brothels for to bring young meat in. Just my experience. Okay.
I mean,
we're not going to go into my college years, unfortunately.
I mean, my experience was definitely mixed, and I will say, like, I think especially like one of the things I love about what's happening with queer culture right now, and especially like Zoomers are like totally leading the way on this, and it's very awesome. Is just like completely breaking down the like sort of stratified, like the previously highly stratified nature of queerness. Because like when you talk about like gay bars back in the day, God, they sucked, and part of it was because like it was a very stratified culture where you went to the gay bar that was for you.
Yeah. I mean,
and that could be
not to bag on
Dennis's.
Yeah, not to bag on Dennis's taste for leather bars, but like the idea of, oh, you go to this specific bar if you want this or that, and it's not just a smorgasbord of pleasure. Is it pleasurable to go to a bar? Is that the right word to use?
No.
It's been too long. My mind is tainted by
going to a bar is actually like awful, but a lot of people line up to do it anyway.
It's the only thing to do with your friends past 10 p.m. So like, guess we're fucking stuck.
Yeah, it's like not the club, so you don't have to be like as active, and you don't have to worry about like the music being so loud you can't hear yourself think. But it's not that high of a step above.
Right. And you can still get drunk. Sorry,
yeah.
go ahead.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. But I think the real issue, though, is just that, like, it's not even necessarily about, like, the experiences that you can have with different options around, although that is maybe interesting. But it's also just about the fact that, like, when queer culture is, like, insular and stratified in that way, it was harder to get education, especially, like, the education that I needed.
Are you talking about, like,
You know, but
around...
just-
sorry. Are you talking about, like, stratified on, like, racial, like, economic lines? Or, like, class?
I mean, it was a lot of things. I mean, first of all, there was just the very basic, like, back in the day, gay men and lesbian women.
I'm straight, so I don't really... I know
like,
enough to, like, not be, an asshole to
Yeah.
people.
Yeah,
I'm not like...
no, I get
you
you.
know.
I get you. But yeah, no, back in the day, it was like gay men and lesbian women and like transgender women and transgender men. And like you'd have these categories, like these people didn't hang out with each other. They hung out with themselves.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Yeah. I
And
see
so it
exactly where
was
you're
like-
coming from now.
Yeah, so it was like, I could go hang out with like a bunch of gay men and like hang out in a queer scene in that sense, but it was all gay men.
Yeah. Like, where's the lesbian?
Right. Or like
Or the
other queer
bisexual,
scenes would be
yeah.
like frequently similar. And it wasn't until I got a little older that I started like find some queer scenes that was more just like, and this is where like the Q word actually comes into my life as like a positive as opposed to just being like a slur, is that like I started to find these scenes that were just calling themselves queer. And it was like, hey, this is a party for queer people to hang out and be safe at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And at first I'm like, queer people? What? And then I'm like,
What do you mean we're queer?
But then it's like I started to really get it, and when I started to hang out in those scenes in particular, I was like, okay, yeah, and of course not everybody likes or relates to that word. I totally get that, and I want to be definitely respectful of that. It's a word that personally has like felt good for me. But whatever word, like the word doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be queer. It doesn't, but the point is that like just that mentality though, when that started to like change and I started to like find scenes that were different in that regard, that was massive. And so that's what I mean about like the stratified, like the previously highly stratified nature of it.
Well, and that's a lot of that's also was for survival before. Like we hear about Stonewall. Oh man, I'm good with names.
Come on, Zach.
The Stonewall riots. Time to turn in my
I'm dead.
gay card.
No, I'm dead. I'm dead because of the rock wall. I was like, that's in
the
Texas.
Stonewall
That's like an hour away from me.
I'm Hardrock riots, right? That's those are the straight ones. Sorry, never mind.
Hardrock Cafe riots.
The Hardrock Cafe riots.
riots.
Yeah, like the Stonewall riots, like those are specifically very stratified because, even if it was like okay for you to be, a little gay, like it was not okay to be trans. And we reached a point where like we're not we're in liberal society. We're not outwardly persecuting you for your identity. We're just you're kind of accepted, and really it's our job, our generation, the Zoomers generation, like these, all of the young folk. It's our job to kind of meld those together and create a better community instead of just tolerating each other on the edges.
Yeah.
I think I was much more repressed than you because I had conservative parents. I am not quite like as identifying with non-binary. I think it's close to what I want to identify as, but I'm not really. I didn't have such a journey or experience. I was just like doing acid one day and I was really high. I was like, gender's funny. And then I got sober and I was like, oh, no, it actually is kind of funny, isn't it?
That's funny.
It's just where I'm at. So.
That's the real shit, though.
Yeah. So that's all I've really got. As far as my identity is concerned, and it's it's kind of good enough. Also, I'm bisexual, but it's also not like it wasn't like a crazy, it didn't feel like I was searching for a long time. It was just one day I was like, oh no, all of this stuff is cool. All of this stuff is very good. I like all of these people and all of these things. So it worked out really well. But I certainly think that even in, regards to other comrades who, I get to invite on the show and chat with, like, you should be advocating more for your identity and educating others, not even educating others, like being outspoken.
I don't know how much I
what...
can educate others to some extent because I'm not a great gender theorist.
Okay, yeah, true.
but I do believe in just the basic advocacy of just being like, I'm here. This is how I feel.
Definitely.
This is what I do know.
Yeah,
I feel like
being able to share your experience and what you feel is like that should be enough education, really, right? Like, if people want to listen to you, and that's why it's jarring when there are comrades that don't listen to you.
Well, that's one of those funny things, right? Where it's like, in order to be valid, you're kind of expected to like get a fucking PhD in your goddamn gender.
You in order to like defend, and I do agree with you. In order to defend non-binary identities or like or transness or like not so much being gay anymore, because like being gay is very widely, I would say.
Yeah, we got it removed from the DSM-5. It's okay now.
It's pretty widely accepted at this point. Yeah, so it's like there's not the same kind of like stigma attached to it, and in a lot of ways gender equality is kind of like it is, it's kind of in the same place that being gay was like maybe like 20 years ago.
Yeah,
but I feel like I do feel like there's a lot of scrutiny when it comes to it, and explaining it to like on a very basic level to people who like are not keyed in, who aren't like super online and always, poisoning their brain with discourse. In order to get through to those people, I feel like
stop calling me out.
I know, no, calling myself out really. But in order to reach out to those people, I really feel like you have to. I feel like it's very. It comes off as very like ethereal to them. Like they don't, you got to start at like a really basic level, and you got to talk to them in a way that doesn't sound like something out of a textbook, because like most people, like let's be super honest about it. Like most Americans are reactionary.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like it's not like, in the media. I think that we are kind of winning in that sense. Like culturally, we are winning because like. It's not okay to fucking kill trans people, like at the very barest minimum, at least like in the, I would say in like the popular, how do you say, like the popular, like just,
in the cultural mind.
Yes, the cultural mind. Yeah, that's a decent way to put it.
I think there's a actual word for that isn't just mind.
There is, yeah. And I just can't dig it up right now. But yeah, it's not super acceptable, but I think that the rhetoric definitely like it definitely needs to be streamlined and made more accessible.
Well, are you saying you don't like our snappy slogan, Ro?
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that you need to like take these concepts that are really like that are born in academia, right? And they need to be like converted in a way that is really accessible for working people. Because like one thing that I feel like let's be super honest, like leftists are overwhelmingly like fucking college educated, I don't know if you guys listen to Chapo at all, but Matt Kreisman talks about how the liberals are kind of becoming the party of the college educated, how like the Democrats are becoming that, and the Republicans are becoming the party of people who aren't college educated. And so I think a lot of the like bridging the gap there is taking, like I said, like stuff that was born in academia and making it really accessible to people who are, who are just working at fucking, like in a warehouse and they've been there for like maybe like 5 or 6 years,
Yeah. And I think I have two thoughts on this. First of all, I think that I would rephrase your thing to say like not that most leftists are college educated, but that most college educated folks are leftists. It maybe rings more true in my mind.
I can agree for sure. That's true.
It's not that what makes you a leftist? Well, I'm smart, dumbass.
I'm a dropout.
Yeah, same. So some job was asking for transcripts. I'm like, of what? My 3 B's and an F.
No, for sure.
Yeah, and to that, Matt Christman is kind of right in that we need to, we do need to make it like not necessarily, academic language, using all these correct words for it. I think we talked about this when we had Rachel on, also from Not Safe Media.
Mm-hmm.
It's about narratives.
Definitely.
And we don't have cultural stories for working class people about transness or about non-binary and, being non-binary and living in the country. Like, there are no country songs like, they were out in the cornfield. It's he him pronouns. So.
Right, and the thing is, it's like there's a few things going on with that, which is like, one is that the product of that is that a lot of people think this is new and that people like me didn't exist before, and it's like, no, I was just like your quirky uncle that killed himself at 40 before.
Yeah.
Like,
Jesus Christ.
Like, I'm just being honest.
I know.
Like when people think that like, these identities didn't exist, it was just like, no, there was just no language, no education, no understanding.
It's like gravity,
and no
it wasn't
acceptance.
invented; it was discovered.
Right. Yeah. And in fact, with non-binary identity, it's fair to say that it was rediscovered because it's something that has been understood throughout, more or less, as far as I can tell, all of human history as a way that some people felt that they didn't really relate to the whole gender thing in that, like, deep, I am one of these things kind of way. And it was accepted in a lot of different places, or at least like tolerated, or at least like understood that it existed. And to act like it's brand new is kind of insane, but it's the product of not seeing it around you. Like you're saying, there's no stories. And like Raul, when you talked about it being kind of ethereal to people earlier, I think that was a really good way to put it. And like a lot of this just has to do with representation.
Definitely.
I know it's funny to be like, oh, just like put me in a movie or something. But like,
please put Kennedy in a movie. We're begging you.
But seriously, like give non-binary people more space. Like,
for sure, I agree.
It doesn't have to just be me, but I am out here and available. Like, if you have a podcast and you want to talk about gender, just throwing that out there. But like, there's other people out there too that are interested in talking about this stuff. And what's important is just like, we need to get this representation out there, because right now no one knows what it is that my life looks like, or what like a struggle for me might be. And so it kind of feels like, I think to a lot of people when I bring this up, like it's a fake struggle, or that there is no struggle involved.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
I had a point.
Not trans. We know how hard being trans is. Like, gosh, how much harder could it be to just, not have to, have all these problems that we know exist for trans people. Like,
yeah, so I'm
and it's funny because there is a bit of both, right? Like, I have some benefits of male privilege for the fact of like, just like having that as like the body that I was born into, and like, like even when I'm coming off as very queer, even being a very queer male-bodied person is still treated with a little bit of privilege.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So like I totally recognize. So it's kind of funny because it's like you get some privilege, but then in some ways it's like you get also like the shorter end of the stick at other times, because it's like no one's taking it seriously at all, or thinks that you need anything.
That's intersectionalism, baby.
That's also kind of like the bisexual thing, right? Like, We're not gonna get into bi discourse because oh dear God, but but yeah, it's like oh you're in a straight Brazilian relationship, give me your queer card or whatever. It's like I suck dick. What do you want from me? I did that. That was the requirement. That was all that you said I needed to do.
I have been discriminated against. Is that not enough?
Yeah, like.
I mean, I agree with you about representation because like a lot of times when I listen to people talk about gender identity and the way that they've like engaged with it throughout their life, right? A lot of times what it ends up reminding me of is race. Like I don't know how like I said I'm pretty like I know enough about gender theory to defend it on a basic level, but I'm not like super deep in the discourse on it. But as far as like gender as like a role that you fit into in a performance, right? I feel like I have engaged with race in a lot of in a lot of the same way throughout my life because I fall in this the thing about being I don't really like to talk about like Mexican people or Guatemalan people or Cuban people as like Hispanics because that's something that's like that makes up a lot of different identities, honestly, and a lot of different like cultural backgrounds and a lot of different tendencies as far as like culturally, like there's a lot of diversity within like Hispanics as a whole. But anyway, I'm Mexican American, right? And a long time ago, I learned how to like navigate white and non-white spaces like very differently. And so I guess it just kind of like it's all when I hear people talk about like trying to like fit into like a role, right? I always think of like when I started like really looking for like because I didn't go to college, so when I started really looking for jobs that like were gonna do something for me, I noticed how much like how advantageous it was for me to like present more white, like dress a certain way, talk a certain way, and it's just I feel like there's a lot of parallels there, as far as just like trying to fit in and give people like present to people in a way that is acceptable, that you think is acceptable to them, like the societal pressure of it.
Yeah. I agree. I think it's definitely not a 1-to-1, and obviously, like
definitely, yeah.
I would definitely be one to say it's easier to hide queerness than the color of your skin.
No, definitely. But the thing is, like,
it's definitely not 1-to-1. But I do
for
agree
sure,
there are
for
some
sure.
similarities, just in terms of like, in order to get like societal advantages, you have to sort of like agree to commodify yourself or like fit into these slots better, or both.
Yeah.
In effect,
Yeah.
Because like I think that's true of race too, with the commodification, just as much as it is for queerness. I think just as much as it's just as much of a trope to have like my cool black friend as it is to have my cool gay friend, right?
Yes.
Like, so I think there are some similarities in certain regards like that, and especially like as it relates to just like you're just trying to like get by in this society.
Are you
where a lot of it comes from?
Are you the cool gay friend, or are you that queer gay friend?
Like when I'm at
pal,
like housing for instance, like an issue that affects like people of color and queer people, in terms of like if you try to like kind of play by the rules of straight white society more, you're more likely to stay housed, right? Like
yeah.
So
insane.
I think it's
absolutely
it's
insane.
Really, yeah, like I think of all the times that I've had to do things like that, and it's just it sucks, and it and it makes you feel guilty too, because you're like, am I selling out?
For sure, yeah. It's like you feel like you're letting go of like a sense of your identity, like you feel like you're kind of like selling yourself out in a way. Like when I'm at work, right, and I need somebody to CC me something, I'll speak a certain way and ask them to shoot me that email. But if I'm in like Oak Cliff with my friends, I'll tell them like, I need you to give me that shit. Like I need you to pull up and fucking drop that shit off.
Yeah, I mean, I could growing up around
and growing
especially
up,
like.
Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I lost my thought and then I remembered it. And growing up, like I was told that like you can't be too white. Like you can't act too white because people will people will single you out for that shit. Like you can't talk a certain way too much. You can't like wear your clothes too tight or too fitted. Like you can't you can't carry yourself a certain way because people will single you out for that, you know?
Yeah. It definitely feels like there's a no-win sometimes.
Definitely.
Just like...
Have you ever seen Selena?
Mm-mm.
Well, the movie... Have you ever seen Selena, Zach?
No, I've never seen Selena.
Okay, in the movie Selena, everybody knows who Selena was, right?
It's about Selena Gomez.
Yes. Selena Gomez, the famous singer from the 90s with the bustiers. That was really good. That was really good. But there's a scene in the movie where she's talking to her dad when she's a little girl, and he's talking about being Mexican American, like Chicano, meaning not born in Mexico, but like not mixed with white or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
An American born Mexican, and he says like when you're Chicano, like you're in a wedge, like you're in like between a rock and a hard place. You when you go around the white people, you got to try to be more white, and still you're not white enough. And when you go around Mexicans, like from Mexico, you have to be more Mexican than everybody else just for them to validate you and believe that you're actually Mexican, you know? And even then it's not enough.
Yeah.
Also, like, we're just knocking on the door of biracial stuff. All interesting stuff. Dennis has covered a lot of this in his videos. Which are really great, really informative.
Well,
for
I'm
me,
gonna have to check some of that out. I really like Dennis. I've only talked to him a couple times, but I've really enjoyed the times that I've talked to him.
Good.
Yeah, the videos are great. They go way into detail on this stuff, and it is this. These are all like we're talking in analogs about all these different experiences that are kind of part and parcel of why we like leftism so much and why we simp for leftism and why we create leftist content online, because it explains so much about experiences that we've had that we question, that we want answers for, that we want to know that we want to know more about. I think, and it's really important that it's not only important that we are able to formulate and create and have an identity that we can share, but then that other people are also, responsive to that identity, accepting of it, and they want to, maybe not experience it themselves, but they want to respect, understand and appreciate the things that we've discovered, about ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And sorry,
I think that just doing all this kind of like left-wing media gives opportunities for radical inclusion, which is like the antidote, in my opinion, to like these identities that we're talking about, which are straightness and whiteness and cisness, that are like, these are exclusionary identities.
Definitely.
These are identities where you need to meet a list of requirements, and if you cannot check every box, you are now excluded.
Yeah.
That's like a very, I don't want to like tell people, oh, straightness is inherently wrong, but there kind of is this problem where like y'all have created an identity that like the second somebody like steps outside the line for a second, they are now forever excluded, and like I think that like that's something that I just really like about doing this leftist media, though, is we have an opportunity to like rally strongly against that and talk about like the idea of just, hey, we can all just tolerate each other except for Nazis.
Yeah.
And then things are fine.
Yeah,
and like you're not going to be gulagged just because you want to have a straight relationship.
Yeah,
exactly. This reminds me of a stupid meme I saw. It was like, who is more straight? The guy who tried gay sex once and said no, it's not for me, or the guy who never tried it and says that they hate it.
It's a good question, and it's kind of like the whole thing of like the secret homosexual that you see on straight Twitter all the time crop up where
in
it's
Congress,
like,
tweeting.
Oh yeah.
No, I'm talking more like the posts where it's like, your man is secretly gay if he does these 3 things.
Oh,
yeah.
Things
That's
are like,
so popular in like non-white working class spaces. That type of shit is so popular in those spaces. Like, it's insane.
Yeah, like
it's wild.
calling each other gay when you're 14 years old is practice for doing it later in life too.
Yeah.
Which
for sure.
Looking back on it, kind of sucked to do. But there's no, that's just what we've declared it to be fine because we're not afraid of being discriminated. Straight people aren't afraid of being discriminated against.
Yeah.
White people are fine with creating, making it okay to do these things to people that we're discriminated against because we're not afraid of being discriminated against, which, first of all, we should be. Just at all points in history, it has, not turned out well for people doing the discriminating. Even from a functional standpoint, like, maybe we shouldn't set up these mechanisms that we can use to punish people who don't think like us. And beyond that, like, what's the point of being a liberal progressive if we aren't taking the time to understand, to listen to these other people's experience and understand these issues and do it better, to be better. Like,
Definitely.
what's the point of being progressive if you're not progressing past microaggressions is the term, right? Like,
Yeah.
which sounds bad. Like, how do you rephrase microaggressions into something that sounds very cool and blue collary?
No, there's a way to do that. I swear there is. It's like, you just tell people like they're fucking throwing shade, like, based on your identity,
Yeah, actually.
Exactly. No, like, I'm being unironic. Yeah. Like, all that shit can be repackaged.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can. Working class language is different all over.
Definitely. I guess I'm like, I live in my own world. So.
And yeah, no, but I'm not trying to. I'm not trying
my
to.
little bubble. So
I'm not saying this to discredit you. I'm just saying, like, working class language is different all over. But like, yeah, you know how the people speak when they're like hanging out, getting off the clock.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
hitting the
heading
bar,
out of work, hitting the
bar for the
hitting the bar
for it's not happy hour. It's 5 o'clock. I guess I don't know.
I guess
that's what they always say, right? It's 5 o'clock.
Well, because happy hour, 5 o'clock somewhere.
So
but
it's not really it's not happy hour anymore. But
because happy hour is like 3:30 now because they don't want everybody to come in after work and get discounts. That's too easy. Yeah. You got to come in before work finishes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't use academic speak when I'm trying to educate the people around me because I grew up poor. I'm still poor.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
and fucking I hang out with working class people.
Yeah.
Who a lot of whom just use the common vernacular that's like, that people use around here, and it's not like necessarily the way people would speak everywhere else.
Yeah.
And so, but I know how working people speak here, and that's how I talk to people about these issues. I don't use words like microaggression. Really.
Yeah, listen, buddy.
But it is a good term in terms of like it does very accurately describe a thing. But like, come on.
Yeah. Oh, and I get too into over explaining things, and I'll try to set someone up with like this big scary word that sounds scary and communist, and I'll try to explain kind of what it means, because I enjoy doing that, and sometimes people are receptive to it. I found if you already have a position of respect and power, I'm extremely white. People will give you the time of day and some more space to kind of explain that stuff. And I do try to do that, but people understand. People use language that means microaggressions that isn't specifically created academically to
100%.
to describe this phenomenon.
You're throwing subtle jabs at me based on my identity.
Yeah.
I
Blowing
think
smoke.
in particular, you can explain it in terms too of just there are small forms of disrespect that everyone understands.
Definitely.
And I think if you can kind of relate people to it on that level at all, that helps too. Of just hey, if you said, "Hey, please don't call me by my college nickname," it'd be very rude of me to continue to do so. And if I continue to do so, you would consider me an asshole.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I understand though that's kind of a cultural change, right? Because boomers were more just harassment is normal.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Just a normalization of a lot of forms of harassment. So it is. We are asking for the culture to change. I do recognize that. I'm not unaware. I understand that I have to.
It's within our right to ask for the culture to change. We're the ones that are inheriting the fucking culture.
Yes, I do.
It's not
agree.
Yours anymore.
Definitely.
Right. I understand that there's some work to be done, but also yes. Come on. This is. And everybody who's trying to maintain that, the reactionary youth, come on, get it together. Don't. Even if it's in these small ways, at least work on it. I'm not saying that I'm perfect, but you got to work on it and understand when you need to show the right kinds of respect. And I just think in particular of one of the more harassing commenters I got when all of this Twitter shit was going down.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, the crux of her thing was that I needed to politely explain everything to her in order for her to respect me.
Uh-huh. And you, of course, you did. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And of course I blocked her. But that's that feels like it in so many ways just encapsulates so much of what we've been covering tonight, because it's that's the sort of entitlement that you walk into. And I don't know, I'm even kind of losing my train of thought now, but because thinking about this stuff upsets me. But
yeah, because we shouldn't have to ask. It's hard to know that we need to ask for basic human respect from other adults, from people that have lived on this world and presumably have some understanding, knowledge of self and understanding of how the world works, and have spent time interacting with other people and seen the consequences of doing things that are that tear other people down or build other people up.
Yeah. And I remember my point now, which was that I understand that there's a certain amount of work that I need to do. I have to be a part of the change.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm willing to take the responsibility for that and not just expect society to accommodate something that it hasn't learned about yet.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you have to extend some amount of olive branch. And that comment is the perfect example of just that's not doing enough.
Yeah.
I'm entitled to better than that. And I just want to put that out there for everyone listening. Every queer person, every person of color that's trying to explain their experiences to you, every marginalized person, period, that's trying to explain their experiences to you, deserves better than that. Like, yes, we have to be willing to do some of the work, but also y'all who have not had these experiences have to be willing to look to us as the experts without us even having to prove expertise.
Yeah.
Because just our experiences are enough to make us an expert in something that you literally know nothing about.
It's also like a problem with mental health and kind of the way that science has tried to tell us there's like a perfect framework for everything. As long as, we can determine this perfect framework of everybody, we just figure out what the one thing that everybody, needs to do and act is, then everything will be perfect.
Yeah. Have you ever read Capitalist Realism?
The inside cover.
I haven't.
He touches on that a lot.
Yeah, Mark Fisher.
He's
great.
He touches on mental health and material conditions a lot.
Yeah, and I want to say 99% Invisible has done like stories about like what is the average human. There's no average human. If you build something for the average human, you'll find that it fits literally nobody because the averages are the sum of the things that make us different. Blah blah blah. Humans got we're the dominant species on the planet because we're cooperative.
Definitely.
God, isn't that kind of the problem with fascism?
Is that there's no space for being different?
Is that there's just no space for anyone in the end.
Yeah.
Like the end result of fascism is that like if you create something that's designed for like the average like whatever like ideal person, then like no one, it's for no one.
Yeah.
Like that's such a that's the fundamental, like any authoritarian ideology eventually kind of seems to lead you towards that direction of like, now you've created a box that no one can sit in comfortably. Maybe some people can sit in it to survive, but no one can sit in it comfortably.
Yeah, that's literally airlines and fighter jets. They had to redesign seats for fighter jets.
American Airlines is literally Nazis. That's what you're getting at, right?
God, yes, I hate flying American. They did it for fighter jet seats, and like none of the pilots actually fit in the seats because they have to make it so it's adjustable to fit these 5'0" pilots and these 6'6" pilots, because those are the people that fly the jets. And
Shout out to my short kings.
Yeah, you have to design things with people in mind. We have to design social systems with people in mind. We're not trying to design this perfect as long as everyone is compliant. Then everything works just fine. Social system. We have to make a framework of medicine, of identity, of all these different things that humans do and that humans are, and we have to make a framework that has space for everyone, because that's the lesson that we took from the 20th fucking century. Unless we didn't take the lesson, in which case. Shit.
What do we do next?
I don't know. We keep podcasting into the void is what we do.
Yeah. That's all you can do now, right?
Yeah. So
that's what everybody does
left.
now on like some fucking level, is they just like yell out into the fucking digital fucking
abyss.
Digital cavity.
Yeah. I mean, I've shorthanded a little bit of the refutation to perfect framework, whatever, blah, 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 conversation that we could have, because we're kind of running a little low on time. But like, that's the point. I think that's kind of like the point of, wanting better from, people that have taken the time to know us and, use the correct pronouns for us, talk to us about the things that we're interested in, agree with us, about the missions that we have with our media creation tools. That's what I consider, kind of the loose collective that we have here on Psychic Dolphin Garage and the Not Safe Media Collective. Like, these are tools to affect change in the world around us.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And tools to affect that change, and something that we've all worked hard to build on. People are very willing to recognize capitalist achievement, but there's just, there's something not quite, there's something a little off about recognizing just our, fucking identities.
Yeah, agreed.
What could it be? Could it be capitalism again, doing fucking shitty shit all the time, always, forever? Thanks, capitalism.
Thanks.
Oh yeah.
Thanks
Thank you.
for commodifing everything.
Thanks for the memories.
Including
Thank you
rights.
for 50 different kinds of toothpaste. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I needed that. Innovation.
I need my
Woo.
Iron Man toothpaste. All right.
Honestly, little tiny microscopic Tony Starks you can only see under the microscope, and I know they're there. Also, they're all in the salmon now. There's all the fish have microscopic Tony Starks in them.
It just turns your teeth red and
Oh
yellow.
wow.
Yeah.
Are they turning the frogs gay?
I wish that they were that effective, but they're only turning me gay. Kennedy, this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
We're totally gonna have you on and talk about something less less serious maybe. I mean, I know that there's so much stuff that is like serious, but we joke about it, or not serious stuff that's like has political repercussions because there's just so much going on in the world around us. But I'm happy that we got to have you on the show first of all. And have some fun.
It's about time I made it. I've always regretted that first time I was supposed to be on, and then it ended up having to just be Brandon. I was very regretful. So I'm glad that I finally got the makeup session.
Hell yeah. Yeah, all of the lovely Psychic Dolphin makeup artists who are the real MVPs behind this show.
Yeah, I look gorgeous.
Absolutely. I wish you could all see Kennedy now. Unfortunately, this is the video only or the audio only show.
Only.
So it was all for naught. But yeah, I guess before we get out of here, tell us what you're working on. Tell us what content you want people to check out, and where to find you, of course.
Yeah, I'm at Kennedy T. Cooper on Twitter. Follow me there. And also, if you're not already up with Not Safe for Wonks / Not Safe Media, you got to follow at NSF Wonks on Twitter and youtube.com / Not Safe Media for all the good stuff. And also, I'm working on a new thing. It will come out through Not Safe Media. So if you're already watching that channel, it'll be there. I'm working on a new show that's going to not be in any way exclusively about queerness, but is going to emphasize talking about things including queerness a lot more. That's going to be a once-a-week show, and I don't want to reveal too much about that yet, but if you follow me on Twitter, you will know what's up soon.
Hell yeah. So you absolutely should, just like we do. Because
Yes.
I know.
I think I followed you. I'm pretty sure.
I'll follow you back for sure.
I'm pretty sure I did. I looked at your Twitter earlier, but I don't
Follow
remember
for
if I followed,
follow.
but I'm almost positive I did.
Always.
It's not Fridays yet.
With anyone who seems nice or cool. You don't have to just be cloudy, but I do kind of like I do favor people that are queer and seem nice, if I'm being honest.
That's fair.
Not saying that I
Not saying I discriminate against straight people or anything.
yeah, who would do that? Gosh.
I'm not saying that I am discriminating against straight people. I just have some reservations still.
The war on heterosexuality continues.
Yep. Hell yeah.
They're trying to turn our men into women.
Our women into
lesbians and our children into I don't know,
Lesbians,
bigger lesbians. Yeah.
3 lesbians on top of each other's shoulders in a trench coat.
A trans person is gonna come to your house and fuck your mom, and she's gonna love it.
Because better aftercare and all that.
Yeah. No. Anyway, can I plug?
You plug, Raul.
Okay,
it's your turn.
My name's Raul. I'm 1/3 of a podcast called Authentic Discourse. We're kind of on this like I don't really know where we're going right now, but you can follow us on YouTube at Authentic Discourse. You can follow us on Twitter at Authentic DTX, And then you can follow me on Twitter at the Blade Studier. It's a picture of a little cat with laser eyes. I'm probably gonna do some solo content soon, like some strictly political, like zeroed in on political stuff. Right now the podcast is it's a normie podcast. Okay, doing outreach to the normies.
Which is, good, bad,
good.
however
Yeah.
whatever your taste makes of that.
But yeah, follow me. I'll probably be doing some like strictly political content here pretty soon.
The Blade Studier is I can't tell if that's better or worse than mine, because mine's Shinobi 1 Kenobi. I think mine is worse because it actually
yours is only slightly. Well, I don't know, because like Star Wars is kind of cringe. Even though I love Star Wars, don't get me wrong.
Well, Star Wars and Naruto technically.
No, but enjoying anything sincerely is illegal.
Oh, damn.
So.
Well,
I mean, I like Star Wars,
super
but
ironic, and I hate Star Wars and also anime. Please
exactly.
don't look at my tweets.
I just watched Star Wars, so I can be keyed into the popular to the fucking popular discourse on it.
So I can properly hate on it. Yeah.
So I can properly fucking shit on it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, this is the Psychic Dolphin Garage podcast. You can find us on almost every platform at Dolphin Garage, but please especially follow us on Twitch at Psychic Dolphin Garage. We stream there. We're doing 3 days a week at this point.
Nice, man.
Maybe we're going to have more days as we go. I don't know.
I'm very proud of you.
I'm super happy that we just have people that just show up to our streams and just hang out with us, because that's so fucking cool. Also, thank you to everybody that listens to the podcast. I am the one that tracks, our individual viewers. And I sit in my car outside your house if you haven't listened to us that week, just to figure out what's wrong, so I can make an episode.
Sure you're okay. Do a wellness check.
Yeah, exactly. Just to make sure everything's all right. So
that's how PDG became my most listened podcast on Spotify. I just kept getting fucking creeped out. I was like, all right. Listen,
it's it was the sitting outside of the window and whispering at night that really got
the whispering. I thought I could handle you just sitting out there, but the whispering in reverse Latin was a lot.
Anything for our listeners is really it's not nothing is too there's no sacrifice too big. Yeah, so check us out, and we will see y'all later.
Bye.
Howdy, y'all. Don't forget to follow our link tree in the show notes to discover new things like our Discord, social media platforms, and all the places where you can listen to our podcast. Word of mouth is the best way to introduce us and other leftist creators to friends, family, coworkers, your AA buddies. Community is about more than hot takes online. And if you want to support our efforts, you can donate to us at patreon.com/psychicdolphingarage, which is spelled how it sounds. Hope to see you on the stream tonight. Enjoy this music by JJ Demon.
How the fuck I still got a full head of hair? Not a single gray. Fuck the cops, family first, every single day. Bringing a charm when I ring the alarm. My arms got a box cutter and sticky. We gotta abolish ice, abolish it. No need to apologize, the Holocaust abolishes. For no reason we colonize the land and put up monuments. Dope needles, dollar signs, the globe stands in astonishment. I hope there'll be a punishment. I really wanna get bloody. I really wanna stand in judgment of anybody taking money from anybody in the struggle. Anybody on a budget. Poor people getting 10 to 20 for some dumb shit. Corporations incorporating a bloodlet. Mark my fucking words, this coup will not be bloodless. Mark my fucking words, this coup will not be bloodless. Mark my fucking words, this coup will not be bloodless. Mark my fucking words, this coup will not be bloodless. Mark my fucking words, this coup will not be bloodless. Mark my fucking words, this coup will not be bloodless. Mark my fucking words.